Welcome to Road to Success, applying expectancy value and goal orientation theories at home and in the classroom with Mallory Anderson and Sarah O'Quinn.
When you think about it, motivation is everywhere. In the corporate world, businesses try to boost their employee motivation. Classrooms, teachers trying to figure out how to better motivate their students. Family members talking about that one cousin who still hasn't been motivated to get a job and move out on their own. And even personal goals. These could be health goals, emotional or spiritual. Really, any kind of type of goals need that motivation. We talk about motivation, but what is it really? You can look at it as the force or the why that drives one to reach their desired goals. Research shows that it has three psychological functions: energizing or activating behavior, directing behavior, and regulating persistence of behavior. Basically, you can say that motivation is the reason one starts a behavior and then continues to persist towards reaching that goal.
In this video, we will discuss two theories you can use to help improve motivation within your personal and professional life: expectancy value theory and goals and goal orientation theory. We will provide you with real-life examples of how we intentionally applied these theories and the outcomes of those motivational acts. While these theories vary in their approach to motivation, they share the same goal of improving motivation and encouraging individuals to achieve success.
The first theory we will look at is expectancy value theory. This theory has two main components: expectancy of success and task value. Basically, the expectancy piece is how one expects to perform, thinking, can I be successful? The second part, task value, is where you can dig deep and figure out why they may or may not be motivated. For task value, you'll break it down. First, determine intrinsic value. How interesting is the task? Do they find it enjoyable? Second, attainment value relates to how important something is. Does it relate to their identity? This can be difficult to determine for younger students, but becomes increasingly influential starting in the teen years. Utility value is based on how useful a task is. Does it fit with one's current or future goals? Lastly is the cost. If one were to complete the task, what would they be giving up? This might be missing out on a game your friends are playing, or could be the amount of mental effort or stress put into the act. Ultimately, if one has a high expectancy for success, try and figure out which task value or values are lacking and start there to improve motivation. Now, we will share two examples of motivational issues where we apply our first theory. As you follow, think about how you might be able to use it at home or in the classroom. Okay, this one was mine, with my 14-year-old son, Bob, and his lack of skill work he was putting in for his position as lacrosse goalie. As a mom, I'm simply proud of him for playing, especially in such a difficult position. However, he would often get upset when he didn't make the A team or didn't do as well as he had hoped during a game. The specific motivation issue began to bother me as he wasn't making the connection between doing well and putting in extra skill work. Thus, I began to apply the expectancy value theory. The first thing I did was interview him with some questions to see where he stood in terms of expectancy. His ability beliefs and expectancy were not the problem here, as he shared that he felt he and his team would do well this summer for travel season. Moving on to task values, the interview clarified that he finds the skills he learns during skill work useful, noting a high level of utility value. Bob also shared that being a good lacrosse goalie was very important to him, so his attainment value was fine. Cost wasn't an issue, as he said that he knows what he learns during skill work is more important than other activities he could do, aka computer games. Last was intrinsic value, where we both realized that his motivation was low because of interest. He shared that individual skill work is okay. He likes it when he does it, he just never does it. We'd figured it out. My next step was to work with Bob to make his skill work sessions more interesting and enjoyable. For this, I began taking him to the high school for a change of scenery and extra choices of walls for wall ball. We went to practice early, and he would put in his earbuds, listen to music, and practice skills. Eventually, I began hearing him doing work in his bedroom, following along to YouTube videos on his own. By the end of the week, we could both see his level of motivation increase, and I ultimately saw him gaining more ownership. I asked him what he thought about our experience, to which he shared, "This experience has helped motivate me to put in more skill work alone and has helped me to find new and more enjoyable ways to do so, while still putting in valuable work." And yes, he actually said that.
Now let's take a look at another example involving a younger child. My 5-year-old daughter, Kate, will be starting kindergarten in the fall. And while she is excited to start kindergarten, she is not motivated to work on reading skills over the summer. I saw this as an opportunity to apply the expectancy value theory to see if it would help motivate her. Since Kate is a younger child, I used observations over interviews to determine her expectations for success and her task values. Based on these observations, I determined that her expectancy for success was high. She often said things like, I can read, or pointed out letters that she knew. She demonstrated confidence in developing reading abilities when talking with family members and friends. Knowing expectancy was not an issue, I began to examine her task values. I noticed that her utility value and attainment value were low, but I was not surprised due to her age. Developing an identity within reading and understanding its impact on her future goals is very abstract. However, I was able to identify that her motivation was impacted mostly by low intrinsic value and cost. Kate prefers playing games and engaging in hands on activities, so reading felt less enjoyable and competed with activities she considered more fun. As a result, reading did not hold enough value to motivate consistent practice. Now that I had identified her weaknesses, I chose to focus on increasing Kate's intrinsic value and reducing the feeling of competing activities by using game based learning, incorporating her love of water, magnetiles, and board games. I created 3 different games for her and me to play throughout the week. Some games were played more than others, and some were more successful than others. The first game we played was called Balloon Drop, where she practiced identifying letters and sounds by throwing water balloons at the corresponding chalk letters on the ground. She really enjoyed this game and wanted to keep playing over and over until the whole driveway was covered. I could see her intrinsic value increasing. Next, we completed a scavenger hunt. I wrote one letter on several different magnetiles, then placed them on the other side of the room. Kate was given a decodable CVC word, and she ran to the other end of the room to retrieve one letter at a time, increasing movement and engagement. Once she brought back the 3 sounds, she connected the tiles to spell the word. She kept going until she correctly blended 10 words. Then we enjoyed using her letter tiles to build a castle together. She really enjoyed this one as well. Finally, we played a game called Boom, a sit-down, turn-taking game where you pull popsicle sticks to identify a word. Correct words were collected and missed words were placed back in the middle. If a boomstick was pulled, you lost all of your collected words. While she seemed to like the game, it wasn't as engaging as the others. We played this game 2 different times, with different results. When her big sister played with us, she was focused and engaged. When her sister did not play, Kate was distracted by her sister's competing activity, which impeded her focus and engagement. These activities significantly increased Kate's engagement and enjoyment for reading practice. I found that her intrinsic value increased substantially, and while her costs depended on the surrounding environment and competing activities. Overall, expectancy value theory helped me recognize that the barrier was not Kate's ability, but the value she placed on the task. By making reading fun and meaningful, I was able to increase her motivation and practice of reading skills, which we will continue to use over the summer.
Let's reflect on some key takeaways for the expectancy value theory. Motivation is more than ability. Individuals must perceive that they can be successful and see value in the task. Bob and Kate both perceived they would be successful, but had weaknesses in task value. The values varied in the examples and will with each individual and task, so be mindful when applying in your personal life or in the classroom, as they require different supports. Match the strategy to the need. Determine if the motivation weakness is expectancy or task value. Then be specific and intentional with strategies. Simply encouraging more effort could lead to frustration and not help with motivation.
Next, we will look at the goals and goal orientation theory. But before we can move further, we need to first define goals and goal orientations. Goals are what we want to accomplish, such as making the basketball team. Goal orientations are why we attempt to do a task, such as why did we want to make the basketball team? Think of goals like a road trip. A distal goal is the final destination, the place you ultimately want to reach. Proximal goals are the checkpoints along the way that help you track your progress. Proximal goals help you stay motivated by breaking the larger goal into smaller, more achievable and manageable tasks. According to research, goal orientation theory identifies two primary types of goals: mastery based goals, in which a person focuses on developing competency and improving skills for themselves, and performance based goals, in which a person focuses on demonstrating competency to others. These goals can also be viewed through either an approach or avoidance perspective. A goal that is approach driven is when a person seeks to gain skills or achieve success, while an avoidance driven goal focuses on avoiding failure, mistakes, or negative outcomes. By combining these two types of goals with approach and avoidance perspectives, goal orientation theory identifies four goal orientations: mastery approach, mastery avoidance, performance approach, and performance avoidance.
Example time, and it's me again. We're back here with Bob and his continuing issue of putting an individual skill work for lacrosse. While we found previous success for this issue when applying the expectancy value theory, I wanted to look at the issue as it is ongoing through the lens of goals and goal orientation theory. Some new contextual influences. He and his team won 2 tournaments in back-to-back weekends, but then had a disappointing final tournament. After the last game, a coach came to him and said, "I think you're a great goalie, but we have a lot to work on. We already have other goalies reaching out wanting to play for us. And we have fall season tryouts coming up too." First, I sat down with him and we conferenced to set goals. Bob shared that his distal goal is to make the A team, so we set proximal goals to help keep him on track. Understanding orientation here can help me improve his motivation. Bob's distal goal is mastery approach, as he wants to make the team for himself, not necessarily to prove anything to others. His proximal goals are also mastery approach, as he is seeking to obtain new skills for the sake of learning. I wanted to foster a mastery approach climate to keep him motivated in this positive way. The TARGET acronym provides strategies for doing this. The example here is personal, but it really leans itself for application in the classroom. You can see that I worked to provide variety in the task, gave authority opportunities where he made himself a schedule, and gave praise for the work he was putting in. Grouping and evaluation were difficult for this situation, but is something you can easily apply in the classroom. Timing here refers to allowing, when possible, for choice and authority for when the tasks are completed. Results were positive from this theory application, like before. Bob self-evaluated, checking off accomplishments on his schedule. His motivation increased, along with competency and self-esteem. I found it interesting that for both theories, I worked to help improve task interest and enjoyment, along with opportunities for authority.
I'm back with our last example. This time, I chose to work with my oldest daughter, Anna. She's an 8-year-old gymnast who started gymnastics 1 year ago and loves it. With her background in tumbling, she quickly advanced to level G3, where she has spent the last 11 months. With this quick success has also brought the desire to keep moving on. At the end of the school year, Anna started expressing the desire to advance to level G4. I interviewed her to see why she wanted to achieve this goal. She said she wanted to move to G4 because she wants to do harder, more advanced skills. And she also said she wanted to prove to the coaches that she was ready to move on like the other gymnasts. This quickly allowed me to determine she had 2 goal orientations: mastery approach, because she wants to learn more advanced skills and improve her performance in each event to become a better gymnast, and at a performance approach, because she wants to move to G4 to demonstrate her competency to her coaches. Her father and I took her to weekly practices, provided a space for practice at home, and encouraged her to work hard and motivated her to keep practicing. But I couldn't help but think how I could take a more strategic approach to improving her desired goals. This is where goal orientation theory, along with goal development, came in. I decided to help her create proximal goals to break down her distal goal. To do this, I sat down with her in a goal setting conference. When asked what skills she needed to achieve in order to advance to the next level, she said, "I think back hip circles," but was unsure. I showed her how to look up her skills on the gymnastics app. She saw that she was missing 3 skills that she needed to achieve before moving to G4. These skills helped to create her proximal goals. An unexpected success that came from this conversation was her realization of how much she had already accomplished. In addition to the 3 unachieved skills, she had achieved 77 skills. This helped spark her desire even further. Now, with her distal and proximal goals set, it was time to get to work. First, we listed the goals on a sticky note and posted it on the practice wall as a reminder of what she is working to accomplish. Two of the goals were bar skills and one was a beam skill. Since we do not have a bar at home, we decided to focus on the beam skill. She committed to practicing independently in addition to my 30-minute daily supported practice. She saw success and failure during the practices, and when frustration set in, I focused her attention on the sticky note. Eventually, she started to independently look at the sticky note to pep herself up. Throughout the supported practices, I found myself decomposing the steps of a cartwheel on the beam. This breaking down of the proximal goal made it even more achievable. She worked hard, and on Friday, she went to practice and was assessed on all three of her proximal goals. She successfully mastered two of the three skills. While I saw her confidently perform the cartwheel on the beam, nothing can beat the excitement and pride she had when explaining me every detail. By applying mastery approach strategies through proximal goals, Anna not only mastered skills, she improved her perseverance and improved her confidence, focus, and motivation. Now that we have discussed two different experiences with the goal orientation theory, let's take a moment to quickly review what we have discovered. First, people's motivation can be mastery based, focusing on showing competency to themselves, like Bob, or performance based, focusing on demonstrating competency towards others. Additionally, it is important to take away that some goals can be a combination of the two, like in Anna's example. Goals can be approached in two ways, through achievement or avoidance. People who focus on gaining skills to achieve success are achievement driven, as demonstrated in Bob and Anna's examples. Avoidance driven goals focus on avoiding failure or negative outcomes. Lastly, as demonstrated in both examples, making proximal goals can help individuals see progress, build confidence, and stay motivated towards achieving their distal goals.
While we gave you personal examples of implementation in this video, you can also apply these theories to the classroom. One way is to get to know your students, interview them, and see where they fall with expectancy value. Conferences for goal setting can prove very valuable, and being aware of their goal orientations can set you all up for success. Research shows that a mastery approach classroom climate is beneficial for all, as it supports learning for the benefit of acquiring knowledge rather than applying effort for the approval of others or grades alone. Lastly, providing opportunities for choice and autonomy are simple ways to support motivation and can be found in various motivational theories. When students perceive that they have a say in what they learn and how they learn it, their intrinsic motivation and excitement to learn increases. We hope you found these examples and strategies useful and hope you apply them this coming year, both in your personal life, but especially in the classroom, as our students, our future, deserve it.